Hello, guys, and welcome to this week's episode of your Wednesday dose of wealth wisdom with me, Daniel Kennedy, Wealth Dragon Coach with a new merch. Thank you for giving me this. I've been asking for it for a long time, and I look fabulous in it. I think you'll all agree. Today's topic is a bit more personal to me, more than the open community. I've been consistently absolutely failing my goals this week. And I'm asking myself the question is, when is it okay to say that I've failed? When do I put my hand up and say, right, I've messed this up. What can be done? Just going to share this before I begin the actual recording. And then we shall begin. Oh, I haven't got the coffee today. I've got the Ribena, as my voice is a bit dry. All right, that's shared to the relevant pages. Now let me just begin the recording for iTunes. For those of you who want to listen to previous episodes, the links are in the description, and you can go back and listen to any of the episodes. Currently, we're actually doing really well in Asia, of all places. We've got over 10,000 listens, so I'm really, really pleased with that. I don't know why Asia thinks what I've got to say is so important. But I'm guessing it's because my partner Kung shared it and it's going around in that scenario. Hello and welcome to your Wednesday dose of wealth wisdom with me, Daniel Kennedy, Wealth Dragon Coach. Today's topic is going to be, when is it okay to say I failed? Is it ever okay to say I failed? So for those who have followed my journey recently, I've started to be more accountable and setting like daily goals. And I was building momentum and this was great. I was doing things, succeeding in my goals, but this week has been a complete wipeout. I failed all but two of them. And for me in the past, I'm kind of beating myself up about it because I'm not thinking of the bigger picture. I'm using it in smaller chunks. I'm watching my path in smaller chunks. And I kind of failed on the Friday, and I wrote the whole week off because of it. And it was obviously a bad thing to do. And I'm learning from this. But beating myself up about not reaching that goal that day ruined it for the rest of the week because I break it down into weekly chunks. And I know I'm not going to be able to recoup it back for tomorrow. I'm going to have to start again after the meeting. And I feel the reason why I beat myself up about it so much was because I used the language that I used it as a success and failure exercise as opposed to a success and learning experience. And to the point where I actually reached out to somebody just to go through a few conversations and try and reset everything. And surprisingly, the advice that I was given was to have a rational fear of failure, like the failure of not trying something as opposed to trying something and failing. So which was very different for me. So rather than saying failure, consider the failure, the fact that you didn't try. So that should be what should scare you as opposed to the actual aspect of failing. So feel happy that you've set a goal, even if you didn't make it this week. And only beat yourself up if you're not trying to achieve something, because it's never ever always going to be easy. The general trend is going to be an upward slope over the long term, but during the duration of this journey, if you're wanting to self-improve, it's going to go up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And for me, this week has very, very much been a down week in terms of my personal goals. But overall, the tasks and things that I've achieved, it's still pretty good if I look at the bigger picture. And I was forgetting, like I was not seeing the forest for the trees. Although the overall trend was better, I failed to get up on a few times. I failed to do my morning mantra. But if I look back at it over the last 6 weeks, this has been the first week in 6 where I've really sort of had the wipeout, where previously my whole life was basically really unorganized since I left the military. And the advice this person gave me, I've sort of like wrote it down, and I'm going to add it into my mantra, and to have a rational fear of not trying to do something, to not trying to reach the goal, as opposed to putting pressure on yourself to say this needs to be done now. And if you don't achieve it, then beating yourself up about it, because it doesn't solve anything. You don't gain, you don't grow from that sort of exercise. What a better exercise, in my opinion, would be, and the advice that I've been given, is to put things in place to where, why did you fail it this week? Why didn't you achieve it this week? And see that process, that journey, that sort of flow chart that you're going through in your mind. See that as the success, because although you didn't reach the goal, you're still trying. You're still taking that small step, and you're only trying to beat yourself yesterday as opposed to beat everyone else in the world. And if you just keep beating yourself yesterday and have that mentality in your mind, say if you fall off the ship and you waste all your goals and you haven't beaten the person yesterday, but the person the day before was succeeding at all the goals and succeeding in achieving everything that you want, but because you've set the bar lower now, you just have to beat yourself yesterday. And the overall trend, you get like the 0.001% better each time, over and over and over and over again. And the person that you're going to be in the future, if you just keep doing that, in 3-4 years time, you won't recognize the person that you are now. I know that's sort of convoluted and quite hard to follow, but I think setting the small tasks, setting the tiny goals, the actual process of setting them should be seen as a success as well, even if you don't meet them. Excuse me. Because the spiral, it can snowball in both directions. Like, you can build momentum to get up to the mountain, to reach the destination or journey, to be a success, as you say it, and you can do it in failure. You get smaller increments. Like, it's, for example, drugs, like you start on the smaller drugs and then you go on more harder drugs. It's like it's always small, and it snowballs and it gathers pace. And you can go on the downward spiral of life, or you can, like, say, for instance, you can just start eating crap, and then you'll eat more crap, and you'll eat more bad food, and it all bleeds into everything else. And it's the same for success. So although sometimes we don't reach the goals, again, I'm going to reiterate, see the journey, the fact that you're setting goals, whether you don't make them or not, or you don't take any action steps on them, see that as a success also, and just realize that we're all human. We're always going to, like, the train track is never going to be straight. We're always going to deviate left and right whenever we're doing something like this. Oh my God, I hope you diluted the Ribena. No, I'm punishing myself for not reaching my goals. So I have pain and pleasure. This is pure, no added sugar Ribena flow. But thank you for joining us. And I've watched this in other people as well. I've seen them put too much pressure on themselves because they feel that they're not doing anything, so they get up, like, wrapped up in this cycle of I haven't done anything, so they don't feel confident, so then they don't do anything, so then they feel bad about not doing anything, and then they don't feel confident, and it's a vicious spiral. And sometimes you just need to say stop, pause, reset. And I could have reset on Monday, but I didn't, because I've got it in my mind that Thursday is the beginning of my week because of how we've structured our weeks. And I am going to reset, and I'm going to do better next week because of this. And it really, it took me, like, I was feeling crap all week because of this. And I want to just delete this week and get it over and done with, to the point where I had quite a lot of frustration. I just wanted to, like, break my computer so it didn't distract me, and all sorts. But now that I've calmed down a bit, I've done what I've wanted to do today, which is good, in terms of the morning mantra, but not on the time that I said my goal would be. but I'm just setting the bar that little bit lower. I'm not beating myself up, as I said. I'm going to reset Thursday and come on, take the week stronger, better, and get better, not bitter, and just reset. So in future, if this happens, what I'm going to do as well, I'm going to just reset. I'm going to wipe the board of my goals and then start again if I don't make them, if I can see a trend. So hopefully then I can pull it back and it isn't a wasted week. And that's why I don't feel it's okay to say you've failed. You may not have reached your goal, but it still isn't a failure. Just see the journey of actually trying to take that step as a success. And if you ask anyone, like the people who are really at the top of their industries, they've just failed the most. That's all that's happened, is they've failed more times than probably you've even tried. And they've just got used to the fact that they can get reference experience from all these situations. Like they've had a more intense experience in a shorter period of time, so they've had more failures, but the successes outshine the failures normally. And that's, I can certainly speak from experience in relation to property as well. Like that, I've had real grievous failures in the beginning, and still like loads of minor failures, but the overall trend has been up because I didn't let it stop me. I sought to learn from every lesson rather than repeat it. And then the overall person that you become is somebody who's had so many failures in so many areas, but you've learned from each individual one. So you begin to overcome them. And then the small things that are difficult in the beginning become part of your philosophy and part of your habit. Because I've never done this accountability thing before. So it's a new thing for me. And I think all I think I've done is I've gone too far too fast, as opposed to realizing we can only take 2 or 3 habits on. So I'm going to go back to 3 goals, tone them down a bit, and I'm going to stick to the same goals for the whole month, rather than trying to cram so much in, because I'm a fairly young person. We've got like decades of years left, I hope anyway. And so I'm going to slow it down, not put too much pressure on myself in terms of personal goals. And I know I'll get there. Because I'm going to learn from every mistake and failure. If any of you guys have ever had a grievous failure, I'd really love to hear from you and how you overcome it. Because most people who have gone through huge trauma and come out the end of it, they're just such remarkable people. And what I've found as well, I won't chat with it now because it's a personal subject, but there's a person that I spoke to this week that had like the worst start in life, and hasn't let it bother them. Literally been very nonchalant about it because they've lived with it for so long. And I wouldn't necessarily call it a failure. I'd just say maybe starting behind where most people start at life. They're further a bit behind, and they're so successful because of the way that they've learned from this huge mistake that wasn't their fault, but set them back on their path from where we all start. Right, it's a bit of a short one today, guys, because it's all about me, basically, about how I don't feel like I've done too well with this week's goals. And just to share the story that failing is very normal. You may look at somebody else and see like, oh, brilliant, they're doing really well. They're smashing, they're buying these buildings, doing all that stuff. I wish I was them. But those people fail too. We all do. And especially within this accountability group, for me, I'm definitely the one this week that's doing the worst in comparison to the other guys, because I see their messages, they're getting up at 6 doing their mantras, and I'm like, oh, like crawling out of bed, like going to bed late, etc. But I'm only going to beat myself yesterday, and the way that it's going, it's going to be a pretty easy task, because today was a bad day as well. So thank you for joining me. I need to go and do a bit of work now. If you want to see the previous episodes, click the links. Or if you've got alternative subjects that you'd like me to chat or discuss on, I'm more than happy to share them with you. Very true, Flo. You cannot succeed without first failing. And for those of you who don't know, Florence Wong's my mentor. Her and her business partner, Vincent Wong, were the ones who taught me how to do property, and specifically Florence. My goodness, that woman had to go through a worse experience than the Normandy landings, trying to teach me to do property, because I was very prone to mistakes. And there was many times where she would have to rectify mistakes. So that's why I always tout the mentorship, and being taught by somebody who knows what they're doing is invaluable. And you can't really put a price on it. Right, if you want to know more about the Wealth Dragons, just put their names in Google and you can see all the types of stuff that they do. Obviously, I highly recommend them. All right, thank you. Cheers.